And thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here with all of you. And let me just start by thank you, Mike, for that kind introduction. And I'd like to thank AIM for giving us the excuse or the reason to be here today. You give such strong voice to the businesses across our Commonwealth, no matter how big or small and no matter where situated, and we appreciate your strong voice in helping our administration shape policies and create a climate here in this Commonwealth that's conducive to economic growth, to startups, to entrepreneurs, to family businesses like mine that have been able to thrive. So thank you for your leadership, Rick and John and the whole team. I know Kristen Lepore wanted to make a special appearance, our Chief of Staff, as a former AIMer, I would say. So she's sitting here, right here with us. Thank you, Secretary Pizer, for coming by as well. And to the award recipients, I love that there's a bit of attention being paid on Springfield as we come to this room here in Boston. To the superintendent, being someone who grew up in Springfield, Hungry Hill, an area that is certainly challenged, and then to become the superintendent of your schools and to lead this empowerment zone forward is a truly compelling story. And as I was sitting with you, I figured in my mind that you're going to finish what you started, and we need your leadership there, and thank you. And to all of those as part of the Empowerment Zone team, great job. I also want to thank Mass Mutual. What an incredible commitment you've made to this Commonwealth. I love the way this Springfield Springfield connection is developing, and we thank you, Mike, for being here to accept your recognition today. And of course, to the Cummings family, Bill and Joyce, what an inspiration you are to all of us here in this room. What I loved about the presentation is that you developed your business in an area of the Commonwealth, and you're giving back to that very area to make it better and stronger. You are a real partner to us as an administration, to government. We can't do it all in government, and for you to step up in such a meaningful way to shape and change and transform lives in an area that was good to you and to your business, we thank you so very much. So it's been a few years now that we've been at this. I know the governor was able to speak last year, and I'd like to give you a bit of an update on how I think things are going as the most traveled lieutenant governor I think this Commonwealth has seen. But we did promise you a few things when we came into office a few years ago. You know, first of all, we said we're going to make state government work better, and you can, in your mind, think about where you're seeing some of those improvements. We certainly want government to be accessible and available and less intrusive in your business, less regulatory and more of an open kind of administration where you can conduct business in a meaningful way. We've also said that we would strengthen this economy from one end of the state to the other. You know, we see enormous growth around this part of our state in Eastern Mass, but when we were elected to serve this whole Commonwealth. And being someone whose family's history started in central Massachusetts and Worcester in particular, I pay special attention, as the Cabinet of Secretaries and our Chief of Staff knows, to making sure that we are spreading ourselves and our investments across this great state. And when we think about growing a strong economy and strengthening this Commonwealth, the simple way that we look at this is not, you know, as bookends, but everything that happens in between, much like a book. And the 351 cities and towns that make up this Commonwealth are all very special. I often say I love all my children equally because I spend a lot of time with them. And I started on this journey, literally traveling the roadways and byways and backways and highways of this Commonwealth, and I found myself sitting in city halls and town halls and meeting with the very people who wake up in our communities and make decisions for it, worry about it, think about it, go to bed at night, get up and do it again. And I started meeting these individuals and asking them, you know, first of all, who's your leadership team? What do you care about? What's your future look like? What do you want it to look like? And through these conversations, our administration has learned how state government can be a better partner to our cities and towns. Strong community, strong Commonwealth. And in each of these places, we developed a strategy. You know, what's your plan? How can we map this out for you? And then how can we partner with you and invest in you so that your dream comes true? And so we started the Best Practices program, and I think the governor was here a year ago, and he said that I promised him that we would bring these best practices to every city and town. Well, I fulfilled that promise. Every single city and town is working on a best practice. And so that means this was a voluntary program with 100% participation. And each community has decided what they want to work on. It could be budgeting policies and financial planning. It could be embedding more technology into local governance. It could be housing production, master plans, open space plans, audits of infrastructure. The very stuff that really matters to making a community function and serve the people who live there. So we have about 835, to be specific, of these best practice projects underway all across our state. So when you think about your own organization and your own business, you're always looking to innovate and figure out better approaches, more efficient ways to do your business or deliver your service. And we're doing that throughout the grassroots, throughout local government across the state. And while those best practice projects are so critically important to helping us level set communities, whether rural or suburban, gateway or coastal, it's preparing these communities for opportunity. Because when we invest, or if a private developer is looking to invest, you want to make sure that when you invest there, that those dollars are actually used for the intended purpose and you get the job done. And more than that, what I have loved about this journey, obviously seeing places in this Commonwealth that I never quite knew were there. I can attest to the fact that I've been to Peru, Florence, and Florida pretty much all in one day. Figure that out, right? There's a Mount Washington and a Washington. There's a Gosnold, also known as Cuttyhunk, with less than 100 people who live there year-round, and 2 kids graduating from their high school as we speak this month. But what I've loved about this journey is that we have been able to develop relationships that are so strong and so important to helping us grow a better economy and stronger communities throughout the state. These relationships to me now are familiar. The faces are familiar. The names are familiar. There's nothing that replaces that personal connection. And while technology allows us to maybe work remotely or text and email, there is no substitution for being able to sit at those tables face to face and work together to reach your full potential. And it's allowed our cabinet of secretaries to do the same. It's not just Charlie and I visiting these communities. All of our cabinet, our secretaries, our agencies heads are taking our direction to show up, to be available, to be accessible, to answer the calls, to go there in person and to develop these communities even further. So while we're doing this, we're thinking not so much every community, because that's important, but we need to think regionally. And when you think about the regions of this Commonwealth, each region has its own incredible assets. Many of them are natural. And some of the challenges that exist in each region are different, and some are similar. And I think you heard some of the stats about our economy growing, 150,000 new jobs. Just in April, 6,100 more jobs in this Commonwealth. These jobs are growing all throughout the Commonwealth in all of these different places. And so we know that's really important. In order for us to continue to grow this economy, we need to grow every part of our Commonwealth. So the regional strategies are very integral to our strategy to grow our economy across the state and to make the investments that will unleash this potential. So for instance, our MassWorks program, it's our biggest infrastructure program. We're taking those dollars, $275 million so far in MassWorks grant, and investing in main streets and downtowns, investing in areas that are undeveloped because there's no infrastructure, that might lead to an industrial park in a region of the Commonwealth that's critical, maybe a suburban or rural community to help bring more jobs and more opportunity, but more tax revenue to those communities and to that region. So we have site readiness opportunities. We have this Open for Business program that was new to when our administration came in to start. And it's all about making the properties that the Commonwealth owns. I know the Cummings have touched a lot of property, but our administration is the largest, the state government is the largest property owner in the state. But when you drive around this Commonwealth and you see parcels of land that just, you wonder, why isn't anything happening there? We said we can do better than that. So why don't we inventory these assets of state government and then figure out if they can be put into a productive use. It's not an asset unless it's being used for something. And so we did. So now we have over 100 of these parcels of land owned by the state, under development in 48 communities across the state, and more projects are in production. It's creating units of housing, over 2,500 units of housing. It's creating $19 million in new annual property tax revenue to municipalities, 1,300 new permanent jobs, and well over $500 million in cash payments to the Commonwealth, taking it off of our rolls. So that's just talking about places in the Commonwealth. And we, at the same time, have these emerging industries that we need to cultivate. And we want to make sure that these are not just here in Boston, although just recently we visited Greentown Labs, which is the largest clean tech incubator in the United States. Just an amazing place. If you haven't been, you should visit over there. But what I love about Greentown Labs, they're not just in Somerville, they also have a lab in Springfield. And Worcester Biomanufacturing, we're looking in Massachusetts while we can research and discover and develop solutions to world challenges. We want to be able to make it here too. So in advanced manufacturing and biomanufacturing, we should capture more of that growth here in this Commonwealth. So we're taking 44 acres of state land, turning it into a biomanufacturing park, right adjacent to where the medical school and hospital are in central Massachusetts and Worcester. And soon you will see over 500,000 square feet of space used for biomanufacturing, which estimated job growth will be around 300 good-paying jobs right there in the city of Worcester. And then, of course, you go further west and you find Pittsfield. And we just recently invested $12.5 million in an incubator in Pittsfield around life sciences and biomanufacturing and related industries to help spur more opportunities there. We'll continue to use our Economic Development Incentive Program, $50 million so far in job creation. It's one of the tools that we use to help Mass Mutual add another 1,500 jobs in Springfield and create 2,000 jobs here in the Seaport. And I loved what Roger Crandall said when he was making decisions around what to do. He talked about his deep roots, of the company's deep roots and history in this Commonwealth. He talked about a supportive community, and then he talked about tapping into the talent here in the Boston area to help you develop the next generation of products and services at your organization. So congratulations on your decision once again. But there's so much more to do. We have our economic development plan, but we need resources. We have a bill in front of the legislature that will add more dollars to the MassWorks program, more dollars to M2I2, more dollars of funding to workforce development in our skills capital program, more for regional economic development strategies and planning and investment, more for apprenticeship tax credits, and of course the EDIP program. And we have about 70 days left in this legislative term, so we've got much work to do with an economic development bill, a housing bond bill, a housing choice bill, and an energy bill, environmental bill, so many things that we're looking to get done. And while we're seeing this growth throughout this Commonwealth and strong communities. There are challenges here in this Commonwealth, as we all know, and the two areas that I would highlight are relative to housing and energy. In housing, what I think about there, and I see this across our state, is more people need access to housing that they can afford. Yes, we need to preserve and create more affordable housing for demographics that need that support across our state. We need housing that's within reach for millennials, for startup families, for adults who are aging and maybe want to leave their single-family home and enter into another form of living in their community. And under the current rules of play, we will never create the kinds of housing that we need in this Commonwealth unless we change the rules of play. We estimate we need about 135,000 new units of housing by 2025. And one of the reasons why housing doesn't grow here is because of the zoning that's embedded into local governance. So going back to my original premise about empowering communities, we believe in local control. We also believe that communities should decide what they want in their community. So we created a whole legislative bill around housing choices. So in a community, as we help them through our community compact program, create a housing production plan, we're also asking them, where do you want your housing? Is it downtown? Is it in a Main Street area? Is it in an undeveloped area of the community? And what kind of housing will set your community up for success? If you take the Secretary Ash model of economic development, the more people you put in an area, that's an opportunity for more people who need services and restaurants and culture and activities. And so housing is a tool for communities to grow and to prepare for their future. So we're hoping the Housing Choice Bill will also make its way through the legislature in order to help us reach our goals and make sure that if someone is getting to that point where they want to make that purchase or find a place to live, that they don't say, well, Massachusetts just doesn't have it together. We can't find that place, so we're going to leave. That would be one of the worst things that could happen to us, right? We're creating all this talent, graduating kids with the skills to power up our economy and the emerging sectors in our industries that are growing. And if they can't find a good place to live that's within reach, they could leave. And that's why it's critically important that we get our housing strategy right and we have the tools to work with our communities around building it out. The other area is clean energy. I want to thank AIM for being such a lead voice in this area. We were able to pass a landmark legislation, and we could not have done that without your voice. It was the combo platter. We need it all, right? And in that bill, we were able to address solar expansion, hydroelectricity, and deep water wind. It was very clever. It was complicated, but we got it done. And now we are being able to procure the kind of energy through hydropower and deep water wind. Those procurements are underway and will create over 1,200 megawatts of hydropower by 2022. Be the largest clean energy procurement in Massachusetts history. And I don't know whether it's US history, but it's close to it. It's pretty remarkable. And when you think about this past winter, which I'm so glad we don't have to think about much anymore with better weather upon us, but it was just remarkable with 4 nor'easters hitting us in a short period of time. So impactful that you saw foreign LNG delivering fuel to the harbor here in Boston at very high rates. That's not the solution. That's not what we want here in this Commonwealth. So we need to diversify, and we need these procurements to be fulfilled with offshore wind by 2027, estimating 1,600 megawatts of power. That's equivalent, just to put it in perspective, needed to power nearly 740,000 homes, and it would be equivalent to taking 450,000 cars off the road through these procurements. So I just want to thank you again for your leadership there, and more to come in the very near future. You'll be hearing some good stuff from our end. In terms of further infrastructure, I just want to highlight one area that was pretty interesting in my travels to Western Mass, and the Western Mass folks in the room can understand this for sure. While we are so connected and powered up here in this city and in most places in this Commonwealth, we discovered 53 communities in Western Mass, considered these last mile communities with no broadband connection, none. Dial-up service. Think about that. Think about that, right? So we said this can't be. In this great state of Massachusetts, we need to make sure everybody is connected. So while there was authorization for funding to help build out this infrastructure, this critical infrastructure, necessary infrastructure, there was really no plan. So we put a plan together, working with our utilities, working with our communities. And I'm happy to say that of the 53 communities, at least 40 towns, in this case, are in various stages of constructing broadband networks in their community. And the others have a menu of options that they're choosing from in order to take that path forward to build out broadband in their communities. In fact, this broadband in these last mile communities will be faster than what you see in places around here. So they will soon be the envy of all of us. But how critical that is in Western Mass to make sure that kids can learn from home and not have to drive to the library and connect to a hotspot to do their homework at night. How important it is for employees, for employers, or someone with their own business to be able to work from home and have that operation come right out of their home because the broadband is there. Or for restaurants to be able to expand. We visited a restaurant in West Stockbridge. They couldn't get their checks finalized at the end of the night because dial-up was being interrupted, went down. How do they make ends meet? So this is an economic development issue for Western Mass, far Western Mass. It's a public safety issue, a public health issue, a public education issue. And we're very pleased to see that transformation underway. I also just want to talk about people. People have always been our biggest asset and always will be. But if I could get $1 from every employer that I hear, and Charlie hears, say, we have jobs, but we can't find people with the right skills to fill these jobs. Am I onto something? I think I can see a lot of nods of heads out there. And so we knew coming into office that we had to really dig down deep on this one. We put a workforce skills cabinet together, and we are putting our money behind our strategy, which is to replicate what's happening in the workplace in the classroom. We heard over and over again that kids need to understand how to program CNC machines and 3D printers, that technology's changed the workplace so much, but the education system hasn't really caught up with that. How come we can't take what's in the workplace and put it in the classroom? So we've done that. Over $40 million of grants to vocational technical schools, community colleges, and in some places businesses that needed help with laboratory space in their own environs, to build out the places where kids can learn these skills, work on teams, problem solve, take their knowledge and apply it to the settings that exist in your workplaces. And we're investing again in Springfield and at the North Shore Community College and healthcare certification program, machine tool technology, advanced manufacturing labs all across the state. And it's working. But we also know that that's part of why it's important to have that regional strategy. So we can invest in places, we invest in people, and within each region, we're developing strategies to connect the two with our resources and our planning. We have a regional planning initiative that's now well underway, that's multifaceted. And in each of these regions in our Commonwealth, we have developed a strategy around creating a work plan to specifically tailor how to address the conditions in the economy in that region, what do employers need for skills, and how can we program our educational assets and our workforce dollars into creating the skill development with the graduates and adult learners right into your workplaces. And so now we were able to hire a consultant to help us with this strategy. And it was interesting what we learned through this process, that while each region is unique, there were some similar overtones in terms of where they were finding the talent gaps in these middle wage job areas. And over the next 5 years, we took a forward look. And in the 3 areas where we see the talent gap existing all across the state are in information technology, healthcare, and manufacturing. So we know that. That's an asset in itself, that we know that's where the talent gap is. So now we're taking that information and going into each of these regions and developing specific strategies to create the talent needed to fill the gaps in those 3 industry sectors. And so, for example, the things that we're working on, and Secretary Pizer has paid a lot of attention to this. Paid high school internships. You can get high school students into your workplaces and make sure that they're developing the skills to fill the jobs that you're growing. That's a pipeline of talent. Helping to create pathways in STEM subjects as well, right into your workplaces. Because it was pretty simple. Ask the employers what they need, and basically we can graduate students directly to you with the right skills. We also know that there are a number of adult workers who need to reskill in order to become fully employed at a level that's important to themselves and to their families. So we have a whole adult worker education and training model that is now underway, again, in manufacturing, technology, and healthcare within each region of the Commonwealth. We also have a new grant fund for accessing credentials through community colleges in each of the regions of this Commonwealth through our Mass Grant program. And we know that apprenticeships work, right? You hear the governor often say, do more of what's working. Apprenticeships work. And we're working with our employers on apprenticeship programs, specifically in each region, again, on manufacturing, technology, and healthcare. And as you are, we're looking to recruit a more diverse candidate pool for apprenticeships in construction, in labor. We know that a lot of the players in the construction space are importing talent from outside of the state because they just can't find enough people to fill these jobs. Well, we need to do more of this organically here, and tapping into diversity in our communities can help us there as well. So on the education front, we're hitting it hard and we're doing well. Massachusetts continues to be a top player in education, and the key connection between education and economy will allow us to continue to grow. We're first for the 10th year in a row on our English and math scores. We'll never get tired of saying that, but we can't lose focus on how important that is. Highest 4-year graduation rate and lowest dropout rate ever in our history. And students in Massachusetts lead the nation in achievement on advanced placement exams. You read maybe a Globe story today that spotlighted this issue. And we're expanding access to AP exams now for the 2nd year in a row. We're also increasing funding in our K-12 education. I know that we have some formula issues that we certainly can work on, as the superintendent alluded to, but $4.7 billion in commitment to education is the highest ever in the history of this Commonwealth. So we'll continue to back up our education system in our schools across the state. We also look at empowering them, as we are doing in Springfield, and looking for these kinds of strategies in our hardest hit areas, mostly in gateway cities, and looking to replicate the Springfield model in other places with willing participants. And finally, I think that when you come to a room like this and you sort of just take pause in where your business is, where your community is, how is your region doing in the Commonwealth, in this Commonwealth at large, why does this matter? Why is it important that the governor and I pay attention to these issues? Why AIM helps to inform us around good policies, that there's certainty in this business community and in this Commonwealth, that the climate is one that other businesses looking for a new home would look at and say, that's the kind of place I want, because the leadership is strong, they know how to get stuff done, they work across party lines, they try to stay away from the noise and the distraction and the drama like you do in your own businesses, and they just put their heads down with their team and do the work. That's basically what's driven our administration forward over the past few years, and will continue to drive us forward for as long as the people in this Commonwealth choose us to do so. But the reason why we do what we do every day, why I'm motivated to get up out of bed and get to work, is because of the people we serve. I mean, I grew up in central Massachusetts, had a great community, good schools, jobs and opportunities for my family, and a good, healthy, and safe community in which to live. And if you think about that for a moment, people don't judge how things are going in their life or in their business by what's happening at the State House on Beacon Hill. They judge it by how they feel in their community, where they work, where they live, where they're raising their kids. And they all want the same things. We all want the same things, those good schools, that safe and healthy community, and a future that's bright because there's opportunity. And I not only think about it for the people who call Massachusetts home today, I think about it for the next generation. As a mother of 2 children, 14 and 12, I sure hope, and I do for your children and your grandchildren, that when they decide what kind of job that they want or career, that they can find it all here, because the jobs are here, the careers of choice are here, that there are good communities for them to lay their roots in, and that they can find a home that's within reach in terms of affordability, and that they know that the community, the environment is healthy and safe, and that there's just a great Commonwealth filled with promise and opportunity and vibrancy. And I feel that more so than ever in the places that I travel to. The level of confidence, the excitement, that there's forward movement, there's things to look forward to. And that's frankly why we work hard at what we do. We can't do it alone. We do that with you, in partnership with you. And I really believe in my heart, and the governor does too, that this formula for success is one that's working, and we want to see more of it. I believe the best is yet to come for all of us. So let's continue to work hard wherever it is that you call home. And I wish you a great journey ahead over the course of this next year. I also wish to close with saying thank you for the honor of serving. Public service is truly something that I embrace, but it makes a difference. Elections matter, the people who lead you matter, whether they're on your community level, on your select boards, and your school committees or finance committees, or at the state level. And so thank you for engaging in this process as members of this great organization. And let's close this Friday afternoon with wishing one of the teams in this Commonwealth great success this weekend. Go Celtics.